Everyone says it's not about the money, but let's be honest, it always comes back to money. That doesn't mean to say you've got to cut costs.
My view is we have to move away from being a tactical cost cutter to being a strategic enabler. And it's how you define that, isn't it? Yeah. But I do think by being a strategic enabler and using data that enables you to have that competitive advantage, the data you get, the action you then do enables you to then have that competitive advantage. We can move quicker and we can be more cost effective. And I think it comes down to a lot where procurement reports into. It's hard for the marketing procurement people. They need to bang their own drum and say, this is what we are doing.
Yeah, what you're saying at the moment is really key, because that's a big part of it. Is yes, we are here when we go in a negotiation. Yes, we want to buy correctly. Yes, we want visibility, but it doesn't mean to say, it's a race to the bottom. It could be, we could explore in more tactical ways of doing marketing, which test and learn. So then you could invest more with the agency. So there's lots of different ways of looking at it. And I think you're right. If you report into finance, that could have one tone of voice. If you report into marketing or operations, that could have a different tone of voice. But brands you work with, you see a lot of difference?
Yes, I think it depends on where the organisation is and what the financial position is. I've worked from a range of clients where it's find us that 100 million, and you're like, goodness, okay, we want to rationalise our supplier base. We've got, what is the strategy?
A lot of people seem to be doing that.
And I think especially from a global perspective, and it totally makes sense. But we have to, as I said, bang our own drum, because we are the centre of an organisation, and we can see what's going on, and we can provide such added value. But not if we're continually being told to save money in marketing. It is different when you're buying people. And when you're buying people, yes, you have to have that transparency and that accountability, but also, is there innovation? You want to be that client of choice, but perhaps they might bring some new MPD for you using AI. Okay, what is different in the marketplace that
it's about buying smarter. Really. I think that's the way I look at it. You want to know what's going on. That's where procurement differs. They have the data. They can sort of prove what's working, what's not. It may be a challenge sometimes to communicate that to the business, but at least it gives them support in what they're trying to achieve internally.
I think sometimes our actions with the supply market do lead us to be seen as those cost cutters. And I think, if that is the task, the objective of the organisation, then have that conversation. And I say to agencies the same. If you meet a marketing procurement person, have that conversation. Do you want to save money? Because actually, let's look at it together. Actually, achieving cost savings can be done together. We need that transparency. Then it's then taking that and building upon that and saying, right, okay, where can we have that competitive advantage? Where can we think strategically to enable us to get better value, to be seen as leading the way, to be that right supplier choice, to get the right agency model in place. And really, we can drive so much more value from a procurement point of view if we've got the right tools and the right data and the right position in an organisation to be able to do that.
And I'm always saying, well, actually, you can move quicker. If you can get to that, you're not having 6 meetings about something, as you just said, and you can get to that outcome quicker by using the system, a platform, data, with your agencies, get that visibility and transparency and having a more informed negotiation, then that's a good thing. And you're going to need to operate in that way moving forward, because as things get, more content gets created, as things move quicker with AI, then you're going to need to, you're going to need that time back. Cost cutting, it's not everything, but actually knowing what you're spending, and if you're spending in the right way, I think that's a big part of it these days.
And do you see that with the clients that come to you? Are clients saying, I want to save cost, I want to drive value?
Yeah, we get both. A lot of people come because they want to rationalise their agencies. Some people have got to make savings. Something else has disrupted the business. And you get other economic factors. That's not marketing's fault. Marketing may be doing a good job, but actually if the price of oil went up or gas went up, then it's affected their business or raw materials. They have to make changes across the business. But we see it, we're lucky enough to sit at the centre. We work with lots of global brands. They all do it differently. Some it's about cost, but we always try to explain that you can reinvest that. Go and look into R&D, go and look into new things that you can do with your agencies. Explore and marketing. That's a great conversation with marketing. I think part of this as well is marketing procurement doing more. I think it's actually doing more, could be seen as partnering more with marketing. And where we see it work really well, the process work well, is when marketing and procurement are close together.
Totally agree. I mean, that when anyone ever asks me what the key to success to marketing procurement is that stakeholder engagement.
Where it operates in two silos, and we work with some clients where it's very much, marketing, are doing this, and procurement, you just look at this. Then we see a lot of sort of walls in between, because we say to people, why are you just looking at this $1 million spend when you could be looking at the $50 million spend? And that's normally where it's not working well, with the two departments. But I think, as you say, when it does work well, that's when it starts to really, you get savings, you can reinvest, you can answer the questions. We've had in the past people say, why does this creative director cost this in this market? Marketing may argue the case. This guy's won all the awards, so actually there's a good reason. It actually may save you time. Yes, it's a higher cost, but it may save you time in the long run.
I totally agree with you. And I say to any agency that asks for advice is when you get first approached by a marketing procurement person, make sure the stakeholder, whoever it is, marketing, PR, event manager, for example, e-commerce manager now, because obviously the role of the CMO is very diluted. That lends itself to marketing procurement, not replacing that, but pushing themselves up there really with that C-suite. And we can be at that table and be that strategic enabler and bring it all together.
So you've got to say, yes, we want to invest in this for the long term, and it may be tools, it may be AI, it may be all sorts of things. Maybe a new vendor, a new media agency, or a plan that's going to run across multiple channels. But how do you balance that? What do you see at the brands you work with?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the short-term gains to fund the long-term investment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what they're facing, I think, especially the last year or two with, the economic pressures, the cost of raw materials going up, the investment in tech, we know that. But you have to couple that with, unfortunately, what will the impact of AI be in terms of jobs?
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of consolidation now with agency groups as well, all consolidating into, different entities or smaller entities in some respect. When I was at WPP, it was the biggest game in town, not the case anymore. So I think that's a good example of how publicists have now sort of taken that mantle and kind of expanded into things. Yeah,
a good marketing procurement person will manage both. The issue we have got is pressure on headcount. So that's where the rub comes, I think, with that balance of the short term and the long term. But procurement's role has always been, in terms of maximising that value, is to get those short term gains where you can
to fund the long term.
And that's why we've traditionally reported into finance to be able to say, right, this is what the opportunity is, because we need to invest in, we need 10, 15, 20 million to fund that centralisation or decentralisation, which every company seems to go through.
Week it is.
Exactly. But that is the role of procurement, I would say. The role, what our job, what we need to be better at is managing it internally, but also communicating externally. Because I think sometimes too often our actions, we don't communicate the actions, perhaps why there needs to be those short-term savings to the agency marketplace. And it's like, well, we want the lowest cost. Well, actually, is the lowest cost, is the cheapest cost always the right reason, especially if you're buying people? Not always best solution. So it is that balance.
For people though, I mean, what you've just said there, a lot of brands we work with, and I'm always saying it, every brand does it differently. But I'm always surprised that some brands are managing billions in spend with 4 people. And that's a challenge for anybody. That's a lot of money that's getting managed. So I always feel for people. I mean, don't get me wrong, some people we work with have 100 people doing it around the world, but there are a lot of brands. I would say that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but most people are doing it with sort of 10 teams of 10, 12, sub 20 really.
I mean, and the other pressure they've got is, well, you're really good at marketing. Can you have IT? Can you have HR? And they're like, we don't really want that, because those of us that work in marketing procurement, we do it because we love it. It is a unique, it is a different category. We are buying people, we're not buying services. It is fast moving.
I mean, to be honest, that's the bit we love. At RightSpend, really, it's always changing. Marketing as a category is always going to change. It's always going to adapt. It's always going to move forward. We've both been doing this for a lot of years and seen massive changes, and that's the great thing about it. No 2 days are the same. No 2 years are the same really. New services are coming out. You've got to adapt, change, move on. And that's the exciting part for me.
It's time for marketing procurement to step out of the shadows
and take ownership of a role that has the potential to deliver so much more. This is your moment to rise, to lead, to reframe what's possible. You are the future of marketing procurement.